Hi. Hello, everyone. Coming to you live once again from my parents' house. We got not episode, number 7, late night story number 7 or 6 or something, 6.5, whatever it is. But it is late at night, and I got a story for you today. How's it going, everybody? Anuj back at it again. For those of you that don't know, my name is Anuj. You should probably know that based on most of the social media and the Spotify page, but that's besides the point. I'm here because 2021 wraps up in just 24 hours. It is 12:30 at night here on Friday. I'm recording this. Y'all are probably going to see it during the day on Friday, or if you watch this after, Happy New Year. Hope the new year was fun. Hope you guys were safe. Hope everybody had a great time. So anyway, we got to get into the story. We got to get into some reflection mode and to, reflect. I got a little bit of beer here. I'm 21, so this shit is legal. Fuck yeah. If you're on Spotify, you saw absolutely none of that, so I apologize. It was an incredible experience and show. That's why you should watch on YouTube. Subscribe to me, Essential Question Podcast. But here we go. Got to get into the story. Can't be rambling forever. That's what the Changavi after show is for, which you can also check out on my YouTube channel and Spotify. Okay, let me get into the story. So let me start off and say that my review from last year was pretty much all crap. Okay. There was some truth to that podcast. For those of you that don't know, I had a podcast last year with my friend of mine, Rahul, shout out, and we talked about the various happenings of 2020. It was a podcast, episode 7. So production value wasn't quite there. It's not like it's here now, but whatever. Anyway, you can go check it out though. But when I look back and watch the way that I portrayed 2020, particularly on that episode, it makes it look like I made the whole year as optimistic as possible. When in reality, at that point, when I was recording the podcast, I was falling off for the most part. I was at a point in my life where I didn't know where the fuck I was going, what I was doing, and where anything would end up in the next year. It really felt truly like I was going through the motions at maximum. But this isn't about last year, though. 2020 is the past. This one is about 2021. 2021. I'm going to be honest, 2021 was another year. But compared to the roller coaster that last year was, just another year was exactly the medicine that I needed. I'm obviously grateful for all of the experiences, the people I got to continue to foster relationships with, and the new people that came into my life. Those were all things that, sitting back and reflecting on, were the best things to happen to me this year. The experiences and all of the various happenings that happened. That's life. There's highs, there's lows. But this year, though, I have to say, had a lot more optimism than it did negativity personally for me. And that I was grateful for 100%. January and the year began with the biggest momentum that I could have never seen coming. I sent one email to one of my big idols in the sports media industry, and the next thing that I knew, the man was on my podcast, and I was having a conversation with him about my favorite football team and covering my favorite athletes in the whole entire world. It felt like I was living a dream. I had to pinch myself a couple times during the podcast, and it didn't feel real, like having that conversation. But in the process of having a variety of guests throughout the month of January, I thought to myself, this is my direction. I'm doing something with this podcast. It felt like I was living a dream. I loved being my own boss. I love waking up in the morning and choosing the stories that I tell and creating. This was the direction that I personally wanted to pursue and wanted to take with me. February was, well, more of the same. And quite honestly, what I remember about that month was the quiet and the cold. Two things that I normally try and avoid, but waking up in the morning and going on a walk while listening to while listening to my favorite sports radio show was the exact therapy that I needed to get rid of 2020. It was cold, no one was on the street, and it was basically dark, but I loved it. Sometimes, sometimes as a little treat, I would even go grab coffee. And not only would I grab some of the best lattes in the Bay Area, but I would also crush on the barista that served me that lavender latte. Little does she know. Ha ha ha. Okay, that sounded really creepy. I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, back to the point. Anyway, it was a month where I realized that the little things meant something and to settle and enjoy the small picture when I can. Something that I, a big picture and big goal oriented person, do struggle with. March was the month that I started to realize that maybe the calculus that I hated so much was something that I possibly could distance myself from. At that point, I thought corporate life was the way to go, and I thought that was the way I was headed. That this podcast would continue to just, be a side project while the corporate life would be the number one. I still continued to believe that I was on an utterly useless academic path in life, and as winter quarter faded, it continued to suck the living hell out of me. I think March was also rough on me existentially too, since at that point it had been a year since pandemic life had truly begun, since I had moved home to start anew. My brother and I podcasted in March, which was kind of cool to be able to see that. But overall, March was just another month. But I have to remember the fact that Steph Curry was on an absolute heater. Now, that was one of the little highlights in March that made me absolutely happier than anybody in the whole entire world. April came and went. I started doing episodes on serious topic matters in April, and all of a sudden, this was the month that I really started to feel like people were taking me seriously. In regards to the show, the numbers were going up. People started DMing me. The goal of being the D'Amelio's adopted brown brother seemed approachable. I thought I was getting a handle on things. Calculus began for the second quarter, and it wasn't just quite the pain in the ass that I was expecting it to be. So at this point, I thought life couldn't have been going any better. Also, Trey Lance came to the 49ers, and I was settling into my new job. School wasn't too terrible. The podcast was taking off. Trey area? What could possibly go wrong? And then there was May. May was the month I lost motivation to do anything. By the way, this beer is called Heller High Mango. Highly recommend. Available at Safeway. 21 plus only, okay? I don't need you minors drinking. May was the month I lost all motivation to do anything. Every day of this month felt like it took 18 years to pass by. I was questioning everything from the success of the Golden State Warriors to my own personal success in life. In the midst of my mini existential crisis, people around me were doing amazing things. My brother got engaged, and the new family came into picture. As happy as I was for everything and everyone around me, I still felt like I had shit to do. But nothing was going anywhere. Grades were going down, motivation was down the drain, and the podcast quality felt stale. All the motivation of April was slowly dwindling to the point of pure burnout. Unfortunately, June was more of the same. A lack of motivation, struggling to get guests on the podcast, just an overall just an overall stagnant period. The thoughts then continued to creep in. What if you're just meant to be a finance kid that works in the cubicle? What if 11-year-old you was wrong when he visited Intel for the first time and that cube life really is your destiny? June, though, was more celebratory as well, as my family traveled across the country for a wedding and it was quite the weekend. I was still stressed, though, and after I interviewed my dad, my schedule for the podcast had no interviews for the summer. All the classes I was taking still seemed pointless, and I didn't even want to try headed into finals. Summer had to be the time of some change. It was the only way that I could find some stability within this year and find some way that this possibly could work. July was a month of new change and much needed one for that matter. The idea of the Changavi show was conceived one morning while watching Wimbledon, and the idea started to flow. I started to put the idea for the show together, and feeling stagnant with the way that interviews were going for the podcast, I thought there had to be some new idea that could keep me going. And then came the Changavi show, where my personality started to shine through and I was back to controlling the topics and the conversations, as well as being able to share the narratives that I wanted to talk about. That gave me renewed happiness and creative freedom. I also started to get into baseball with the success of the Giants. And to be honest, it was kind of fun. So it was a new hobby to discuss with the homies and the friends and the coworkers at work. But during my summer classes, I still kept trying to figure out what my major should be. And I eventually settled on communications, partially due to the fact that it sounded like something I could do with my podcast. But with transfer applications due soon, I knew fall quarter was going to be back to business, back to the grind, and continuing on an academic path that, well, I frankly didn't like. However, though, August was probably one of my favorite months. I started experimenting on TikTok the month prior, but August was when a lot of people started clicking the little takes that I would put up everywhere, and the engagement and conversations were happening on a small scale. That gave me so much hope than you would ever know. I was chilling. Every time I'd get a video with like 200 views, I'd freak out. It was incredible. It was just a cool experience to see that people from all over the world kind of knew who I was without really knowing who I was. Speaking of which, of people who found out about me, one of my coworkers at work found my podcast while Googling my name for fun. And so my podcast became a talking point with all of my coworkers, which I'm going to be honest, at first, I was super scared. But then it turned out to be pretty cool because everyone seemed to like it and support me through my passions. So the worries of me being judged were taken away. I mean, the US Open also did happen in August too, and seeing Djokovic lose did make my month in some aspects, so I had to include that in this wrapped. September, well, kind of happened. All I remember from this month was that the 49ers were hella close to losing to the Lions, and we also lost to Green Bay on Sunday Night Football, in addition to beating the Eagles. Yes, most of this month was dominated by September football, and I have no regrets with it. It was a solid start to the season, and little did I know that I would be in therapy by December because of this team. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Okay. October was my birthday month, and I turned 21. I talked about this in, well, frankly, another late night stories video, and how I've started to not like my birthday that much. I talked about that on a late night story, but I remember feeling like this particular month, I was super connected with all the different people that watched my content. The Changavi show started to become like a little more popular than the podcast, and this was the month I committed myself that I committed to myself that I was going to stick with this solo show and just start Changavi show content for a while, give it a shot, and see where it goes. Turning 21 had to be the most overrated birthday of my life, but I still do not regret anybody I spent the birthday with because it was with people I cared about, and that was what I was grateful for. Oh, and I also saw J. Cole, and that was really cool. So had to include that. November was a great month as well. I really enjoyed this month for some reason. I think November was probably my favorite month of the year, even though October was my birthday month, and usually that's supposed to be one of my favorites. But November was my favorite. I It wasn't hella cold, and I felt like this was a super productive month for some reason. I started to realize this month that I was forming my own path, and the podcast was working its way through to something. The path that was once jumbled and blurred seemed pretty clear, and for that, I was celebratory. Also, November 15th had to probably be one of my favorite days of this entire year. Sorry for the beer belch. As I watched the Niners dismantle the Rams at Levi Stadium, and I also got into school the same day. So a lot of my stress was relieved in that very moment, football wise and school wise. Thanksgiving was fun too. Overall, solid 10 out of 10. I really did like November. I can't even lie. December, though, has been a chaotic mix of emotions. I think it started off right because the end of November ended really strong and there was a lot of momentum getting stuff done, finishing school on a really strong note. But these last couple of weeks have felt super off for me in terms of productivity and just the overall holidays. The holiday season for me has never really hit me positively for the most part, and this year was no exception. Christmas night was the ultimate reflection night for me. It felt somber, sad, and cold. No idea why, but it was strange. I've also realized that New Year's Eve has become less of a party holiday for me and more of a day to reflect on life. I felt like that was my year. Broke it down month by month. Some months were less eventful than others, but highs and lows nonetheless. I can't say I'm overly high on this year, but I'm not low on it either. I think that the last couple weeks have been tough for me, but other than that, it's been really, really good. And I don't have much to complain about. I have good classes, a job, a passion that I spend a lot of my time on, a place to stay, decent people around me, and well, maybe even a little bit of a direction. I think a lot of my resolutions in 2022 revolve around me improving my health and continuing to eat healthy, work out, exercise, and attack my freaking passion with a high motor. I feel like if I can do those things, I can accomplish a lot. Something else I also want to look at more is putting myself out there more in content aspects, but also in life aspects. I think to myself a lot of the time. I do tend to stay doing things that I'm comfortable with and just talk about that or stay in that lane. But I want to continue to expand. I want to always look to grow and be open with people. In 2022, I think I'm ready to live. Wow, that sounded really fucking Bob Marley. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hold on. I have to take a drink for that. Sorry. But I think it's about to be a dope year. And I'm just being optimistic because things are looking up. And honestly, I only wish good vibes and amazing things for this next year to all of the other viewers out there, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart. Last thing, I'm going to let y'all go. Thank you for supporting me through 2021. I know it's been a lot of changes. I know the Essential Question podcast, I know the interviews started to dip and the solo stuff started happening, but people stuck with me. And I love you guys so much for doing that. Thank you. Thank you. And happy new year. Here's to a hell of a lot more episodes in 2022. And thank you for Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for following. Thank you for liking. Thank you for engaging with this content because honestly, we just need more and more members to the Changavi clan. You know what I'm saying? Come on. Another beer belch. Apologies. January 7th, though, I want to make this very clear. I'm going to throw this little Easter egg out there for you guys who are listening here at the end. January 7th, a huge announcement is coming. We are about to turn up the energy on this podcast. This podcast, you felt like we were going kind of 100 through December. Oh, get ready. Get ready. There's going to be some major changes around here. Stay tuned. We're about to turn this thing up. And this podcast is about to go to an absolutely whole other level. I am so excited for y'all to see this. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've been putting in a lot of work into I almost gave it away. Into what I'm trying to do, and I am so excited for y'all to see this because I think you are going to love it. I think this is for the better, and I genuinely think that we are going to 2022 is going to start out with a bang, and we already know it in podcast land because there is a huge announcement coming, and only I know what it is, and maybe a couple other people, but mostly me. So thank you so much, everybody. Like and subscribe if you guys like this video. If you guys like the video, go ahead and like the video. If you disliked it, dislike it. I want to see. Hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube. If you're on Spotify, go ahead and hit the follow button. Make sure you're tapped in with everything happening here at the Essential Question Podcast and the Changavi Show. I hope you guys enjoyed me recapping my 2021. Kind of took you through month by month what my life was like. It was a little disjointed. Wish I had B-roll and stuff, but I really don't take enough videos of myself. Hey, maybe another resolution in 2022 could be me taking pictures and videos of myself. We'll see. But thank you guys so much. Honestly, I hope you guys have an amazing New Year's Eve. I hope the night is incredible and it's special and you guys get everything you want and you find someone you can kiss at midnight or whatever it is you're looking for. Yeah, I hope it's great. Thank you guys so much for supporting me through this year of 2021. I really appreciate each and every single one of you that's here at the end. Thank you, and get excited because we're not done. We're not done. This shit ain't finished. 2022 is about to be so much fun. So let's get pumped for that. And I'm excited. I'm so excited. Genuinely, like I'm shaking. I'm so freaking excited for you guys to see what we have coming up here in 2022. It's gonna be real. It's gonna be dope, and it's gonna be exciting. So, peace. I'll see y'all later, and have a great start to the new year. Happy New Year! If I don't see you, see ya.